Good morning, folks. We are here today with Mary Turner. We are here at Laveen Elementary School. We are so thrilled to have Mary Turner here today to share with us the Laveen Garden. Not only just the garden, but the garden club, the garden committee, and how an elementary school teacher, she'll tell us a little bit more about her background, but how she got this started. And then we're going to really kind of deep dive in what it looks like today. This is such a great entrance to the garden, and I have a feeling that the students assisted in many of the designs for the garden. But tell us, before we get totally started, a little bit about your background. And for example, what grades do you teach? What subjects do you teach? And why gardening?
It's my 24th year teaching special education, and I have a self-contained class of students in grades from 2 through 5, and they have varying cognitive disabilities, but they are my hearts.
And tell me a little bit about how the garden started.
Well, gardening has always been a way for me to get my kids involved. I've had gardens at different schools, and it was a good way for me to get kids involved in the plant process, from the baby seed all the way to the seedling to the finished product that they can eat. And so my kids were really thrilled by that aspect of gardening. So it's something that just lit up in me, so that I felt like I needed to bring gardening to them more often. It's something I enjoy at home, something I dearly love doing. And then I found that they are so excited about it themselves. They get very thrilled.
As we look at the garden today, tell us a little bit about how kids have changed and how urban farming and urban gardening is different than what they learn about in school.
Well, in the history of Laveen, it is a farming town. So all of the families here of the older generations, and even younger kids that live in these generational farming families, they understand the process. They may not take part in it as much, but they understand it. With all the new houses and new builds and new families moving in, you can tell that there are kids that coming in that are not familiar with the farming process at all. So they have no idea where their food comes from. You know, they think it comes from a grocery store, and you know that mom just goes and picks up what they need.
And so they've never been exposed to the actual, seed to eat kind of concept that you have.
And sometimes they don't know what a food really looks like before it becomes a different food. We grew cucumbers, and one of our teachers took the cucumbers and actually pickled them and let the kids taste them. And they didn't know that a pickle was a cucumber that had been processed. And when they did taste it, they were amazed, and they actually loved it. Now, I thought they were a little bit sour, but they loved it.
But because it was a part of what they did. Well, tell us about the design of this garden. I'm just noticing we have beds. For it being so hot, this is looking pretty darn good. So perhaps you've made some decisions about what you plant. I see some in bricks and then some in beds that are different. I think that looks like plastic, or
it's a composite type plastic, yeah.
So, and kind of what works best in urban gardening. But you can tell us about your design of the garden and what your thoughts were.
Well, originally we had wanted to take these beds out because we didn't like the composite and the plastic and all of that. It did become a thing where it's like, okay, well, let's just shore it up and plant it, because we were ready to go. We wanted to see some things growing. These outer beds that are made of the concrete stone, or the brick stone, those came through urban farming educators and the work of Pat Whelan.
So urban farming education, which is where the concept is to take a garden like this, meet someone amazing like Mary, and say, how do you do it at my school? So that's the whole purpose of our STEM leadership cadre, and here we are learning. So urban farming education helped you with these planters.
Right, and what you see is the effort of community members, students, faculty, and other people that just came in and decided to help us offload all of these bricks, lay them out in the arrays that you see here, install the irrigation. We had a staff member's husband who was gifted in irrigation, and he installed that. And we have timers on the irrigation so that we can keep things going. You can tell though things are storm damaged right now, but we have another work project, a work day, where we're going to get community members, volunteers, and sponsors to come in and do it again. Help us clean the garden up.
So you've got solar lights, you've got irrigation, and all of this you say is community driven.
Community, student, and faculty driven, and corporate sponsors that come in and help us out, SRP, Sprouts, people like that are really involved in getting education into the classroom. Also, Let's Go Compost was instrumental in getting some of the materials that we need for teaching kids how to compost and responsibly repurpose some of the food that they waste every day.
Fantastic, because there's a huge issue about food waste in our country, and I just think that it starts young. They've got to know young, just like in recycling, right? Why are we throwing something away when we can use it and recycle it and repurpose it and have that cyclical process?
Right.
So tell me about how you use STEM, science, technology, engineering, math in the garden.
Oh my goodness. We have square foot gardening. They learn about trellis design and how to string trellis, and how much rope you need to do that. That's all in the math realm.
So it almost looks like your grid, you can look at an XY axis right here.
Right.
I can even see a math problem right there. That's pretty fantastic.
You can. And the kids, I let the kids take part in all of the aspects of this. The kids helped plant these things. The kids helped put these trellises up. The kids planted these gardens and laid out the brick here, along with their parents and community helpers. The kids have done a lot. So the science part of it is the seedling. What seeds will grow in what time of year. What does the seedling look like when it comes out of the ground? How long does it take that seedling to mature? What it's going to look like when it's ready to harvest, and what it's going to taste like ultimately, because we do taste tests.
Oh, that is so awesome. Now, what is the most popular seedling? Do kids plant cucumbers? You mentioned radishes. What are they? What's the easiest to teach? And I say that because our audience is mainly teachers looking to do what you're doing, Mary. So if you were to give them some advice on what to start with, what would you say?
Well, the short root vegetables like spinach, lettuce, radishes, things like that.
I love actually that this is kind of the summertime garden, and because folks, life isn't about a beautiful garden every single day.
Right,
it takes work. It grows on its own as long as you give it a lot of care.
We knew it was going to have some needs in the summertime, because it's impossible when teachers are on break and when students are on break to come up here often and take care of it. But we have herbs growing like rosemary and basil that are hardy summer vegetables or summer herbs, and we have peppers and cucumbers. Now in a bigger bed like this, kids are excited to watch cucumbers grow, because cucumbers hide. And so they have to kind of be detectives about where's the cucumber. Right.
And I love that you have this on the wall here, let food be thy medicine.
Right. So we think it's important for kids to know where their food comes from and how it can be grown sustainably, and that how they should expand their horizons and not just eat Takis and hot Cheetos and things like that, but try a cucumber in the raw, try a fresh garden grown tomato, try some eggplant, try things that you may not have known where they come from. Take it off the plant, slice it, eat it.
And Mary, I love how you said that try it makes it seem so much more palatable for kids who are accustomed to hot Cheetos over a cucumber.
And during some of our community events, we'll take the poster of the cucumber and we'll show them, here's a cucumber, but this is what the cucumber has in it. These are the vitamins and these are the nutrients and these are what it can help you do. As a young person, what a cucumber can do for you, what a tomato can do for you. It's
you take it right there back to just very essential concepts. It's wonderful.
It's educational. With special education students, and one of the things that we tried to do was make this space more wheelchair friendly, more mobility friendly, more sensory friendly. We have plans for the area where you first came in to put the sensory garden, which is a taste it, touch it, smell it, see it, hear it type of garden.
Wonderful.
And that's going to be up in the front over there where it has close access to kids who can't necessarily get in the garden yet, but they can touch it and feel it from across the fence right there. So
that is a wonderful idea. Moses, who works at a garden down in southern Arizona, at a school garden that they created, another one of our STEM showcases, he talked about the fact that he was a counselor, and the garden really was purposeful in the sense that when kids are getting in trouble, putting them in a office 4 walls is a lot less functional than bringing them to a garden. Have you ever thought about that, or is that?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because that's exactly what has happened in some cases here. That simple little wrought iron table over there with the rocking chairs, some of them are over here by the shade, but that table has been a spot for some kids to just sit and chill and enjoy the garden on a nice day, and not, maybe they've had too much test anxiety, maybe things have gone a little bit haywire, but they can sit there at this table for a little while and just take in the beauty of the garden.
Mary, I just think it is amazing what you have created here. And, yes, with the help of the community, with the help of urban farming education, but also just with the help and interest of your school. The leadership obviously would have to be in support. So I think the questions I want to end with are truly, if this podcast is all about helping teachers do what you've done here. So if you were to give them advice, number one, how might you start a garden at your school? What would be your advice, kind of through your trials, tribulations? What have you learned?
Well, what I've learned is that any space on campus that's not being used for something else and has a water source is a place for a garden. So, and you can't be limited by the materials, because all you need is a bag of soil if that's all you have. You get a bag of soil, you put some seeds in it, and you watch it grow. That's as simple as it is. And so any space on campus can be a garden. Of course, you need approval from admin. So before you go and put a bunch of plants into place, you need to share your plans. But you can basically design something that's really simple to very complicated.
Okay.
So you see we have more space for more build outs, more arrays over here.
Yeah.
We have space for more learning tables. We have space for umbrellas and tables, and we even have space for composting. And that's the other decision we need to make, is where are we going to put our compost, and how are we going to contain it, and how are we going to service the compost so that it becomes something we can use. Because we teach the kids that the plant not only grows from the seed and then it matures and you can eat it, but once it dies, it's not useless anymore. It's not trash. It's compost.
Right. It's recyclable.
Right. It'll help you grow more. So my advice to any educator would be, pick a spot and pick a vision and pick some simple plants that will grow really well, because kids enjoy seeing something grow. I mean, if it takes a really long time to grow, they're going to lose interest. But usually most of the plants you can see they start right away, and the kids get very excited. So.
That's awesome. Mary, thank you for that advice. And then if you were to say your number one go-to STEM lesson in the garden, what would that be? I know you talked a lot about the cucumber and seed to eat, and that's a process. What I really am hearing is the engineering design process, starting with a problem, kind of brainstorming solutions, testing, ideating and testing and revising, and then sharing, like the farmer's market, sharing your bounty. But truly, what are your thoughts about just quick and easy, like, hey, I'm this new STEM teacher, I have a plot of dirt, I really like gardening because it's interesting to me. What's your go-to?
Problem solving.
I love it.
Yeah, problem solving. It's like you show the kids a space and say, okay, how would you turn this into something that is, a garden? How would you plot where you're going to plant things? How would you support the plants that are growing there? How would you determine which plants will succeed there. And there's just, the sky's the limit with the STEM on this, especially where math is concerned, because you can see math is everywhere. Math is in everything that we did here, to the arrays, to the trellises, to the square foot gardening, to the layout of where we wanted the walkway to be. All of it is math.
Absolutely.
And math even in estimation. So math estimating plants height and when they will bloom and things like that.
And you also mentioned where to put your planters, and so that has to do with where the sun is and during the day, and how much sun is too much sun, and that kind of
because planting in Arizona is very different than planting in some place like Florida, where there's humidity there's not as much here. Being able to intelligently plant for the region that you live in, not trying to plant things that won't be sustainable here, because that just, that's not good for the plants, that's not good for your psyche, that's not good for anything. So
amazing. Mary, would other teachers be able to contact you if they have questions about gardening and how to start and where to start as far as STEM and gardens are concerned?
Of course. One of the things I learned early on is that you delegate where you can delegate, and then you just manage what you can manage, and you ask for help. You don't try to take it on by yourself, because all of this I could not do by myself. I kept picture journals of the things that people did from when it was just a bare ground until it looked like this, and then people out here working. So I know that it's not just me. It's a group effort.
And what's so cool about that is that sure sounds like an engineering design notebook, a picture journal. It's called Start to Finish Problem Solving, and you can't solve the problem if you can't remember some of the issues that happened before to be able to solve. I just think this is incredible, and I feel also that if there's an organization that you would recommend, or a resource that you would recommend, like, is there a website that you're going to more often than not? Is there a community, do you go to your district office? Do you go to a particular industry? Is it urban farming education? What kinds of resources do you go to when it comes to problem solving in your garden?
Well, initially it was urban farming educators, and then we started branching out into seeking grants from people who were interested in giving money.
Great idea.
For our stuff, and then community people that we talked to people who had their own farms that came in and helped us, do some layout. And of course the gentleman that has irrigation came in and helped us with the irrigation. So it was really an effort of finding the talents of people around you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really great.
And using that talent. And one of the other things that I learned really early on is that kids are smart. Count on the kids to come up with solutions, because
Great.
You don't have to do a lot of work. If you say to a kid, "Oh, I got a problem and I need your help," and they'll go off and they'll solve that problem for you, or they'll come up with a reasonable start to a solution. So
wonderful advice. Count on your students. They have knowledge. We just have to tap them.
Yeah.
And the littlest ones have the curiosity in so many ways that I'm sure they are thinking outside the plot.
Never say no to a little kid that wants to plant something. It's like, here's your spot. Put it right there.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Mary, is there a place that we didn't get to in our conversation and the tour that you would have hoped to get to? Is there something that I missed asking?
No, except that I want to emphasize the sensory space over there. That's going to be built right along that next to the gate over there.
Okay.
That space I really am excited about, because I want the kids to really, especially the kids with disabilities who may have visual impairment or hearing impairment or sensory deficits or mobility impairments. I want them to be able to touch and feel and get involved in the plants. The ones that can get involved in planting, but the ones who are simply needing the sensory input can get the sensory input that they need. And that's what I really want to do, is create a space where it's inclusive of everyone.
Fantastic.
So kids of multiple abilities can come in and really enjoy the space that they're in. So that's my goal.
So as we talk about STEM and gardening, we end with inclusion and how a garden can bring children together, and how when we all work together and collaborate, we know that we're going to get better answers than if we work by ourselves.
Definitely.
Pretty amazing. Well, folks, it has been a pleasure to be with you all today here at the Laveen Garden. So thank you to Mary Turner here, who has truly been exceptional in creating a space like this. And Mary, I really commend you for what you're doing here, and continue to support. GCU is always here to support you, and however we can do that, we'd love to continue that journey. At the end of the day, it's about these students as they grow up and they become adults and they come back to our communities and give back. It's all about how we start off that educational journey.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Mary, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.